All right. While we're waiting for Grimmett to come back,
Hmm.
I thought of one other thing I'd like to ask Fergal. That is, but I don't want to interrupt anything that Burn or I almost said Mila, Burn or Finn wants to do.
There,
We
there
good?
is something that I want to do.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to talk to Kip for a bit.
Okay. Kip.
Yay, the wagon.
Yeah. Kip has been kind of off by himself most of the time, but when you approach, he raises his head up and says, "Oh, hello, King."
Hello. Um, how are you doing? Are you liking it down here?
He looks around and says, and if a dragon could shrug, he kind of does, and he says, "We spend a lot of time underground. Nothing like this, but many, many caves. How do I like it? I'm worried about Mother, but excited at the prospect of being able to go on this adventure to raid a city and take down a demon. That's the stuff legends are made of."
That's what I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah, you're not going.
Kip
Go ahead.
kind of tilts his head, but doesn't say anything.
It's going to be hard enough to pass us off. Us, well, specifically me, Jarek, and Pearson, and maybe the orc, maybe Cole, off as slaves.
Oh. Oh, I see. Because I'm an elf, you just assume that a little. Um,
They,
I
it's a
can't
city
hear
of
this.
Drow. It's a city of Drow. Come on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, do I look like a? Do I look like one of them?
Why
Okay.
would they hate you?
So, anyways,
Racist.
it's going to be hard enough to pass us off as slaves. If they see a black dragon, they will instantly know something is up, and they will.
Kip shakes his head. Why would they think it's anything more than a black dragon that's been enslaved? Isn't the idea to go fight these things in an arena? Wouldn't they want to see, and he stands up tall, a dragon fight in their arena? Maybe I can take this guy on myself.
Hmm.
He shakes his head and says, "Don't forget our bargain. I stay with you until we save my mother. You promised me."
I I know I promised you, but I also want you to return to her in one piece.
And
That is
he
the most.
stands up tall
That
again.
is the biggest thing
"Do
that I'm
not worry
concerned with.
about me, human. You're the squishy one."
Okay, I kind of like him, Kip
Bazinga.
now. Bazinga.
All
Nerd.
right. I have one more thing I wanted to ask you.
Hmm.
I've noticed a couple of times that, well, according to Jarek, black dragons are supposed to spew acid. I've noticed a couple times that you've tried.
With that, Kip will kind of like sit down hard on his hunches, like defeated, like whoomph, and say, "Yeah, I'm told that different dragons develop the ability at different ages, but most of the dragons I've ever known could breathe acid by now. And Mother says that I'll get it, and it just takes time. But well, I'm kind of made fun of from the other dragons. I'm I'm sensitive about it," he says. "But I will be able to someday. You'll see."
Oh, undoubtedly. And you'll probably be 1,000 times better than everybody else at it.
Kip looks at you as if he's not sure if you're just being encouraging or uh, patronizing.
No, I'm serious.
Oh, I said he looks at you. He doesn't actually.
I know, I know. um, one more question. How old are you?
He raises his head and says, "I'm 37."
Wow.
Some people think that's not old enough to be out, and of course I haven't hit my full size yet. And he kind of thumps his chest. Mom says that when I reach 100, I'll be just as big as everyone else.
I'll bet you will be. And he's probably going to look at me patronizingly again.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll talk to the rest of the group.
Okay. Yeah, I think it might be a good time for the group to come together.
Yeah.
All right. What's on your mind there, Kip? I mean, Keen. Keen.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Kip seems to think that he needs to go. I seem to think that he needs to stay. Not only because it would be harder to make it look like he's a slave, in my opinion, but also because the gnomes might need a little bit of protection.
That's true. But let's not put the kettle before the horse. We agreed to talk on it some, and then with a clearer mind, determine for sure whether we be doing that or not. So how about we just cast what we do normally, a simple vote on the direction of where we want to go. Either we go, masquerade as slaves, and kill this beholder, or we leave these gnomes. What would you like to do?
Me?
Yeah, we'll start with you, Keen.
I'd like to go.
Okay. Jarek?
In light of my troubles, I would prefer to leave rather than head to the Citadel.
Okay. Finn?
Did you get your magic worked out, Jarek?
The only way this magic will be worked out is when I leave the Underdark.
Well, did you try talking to that guy?
Do I lecture you on your abilities? Shall I now teach you how to sword fight?
No, I'm just wondering. Jeez, no need to get touchy. Just thought it might help.
Finn, how about you?
I guess we can go.
Go
Do it.
where?
Do the thing. Yeah, that.
Okay. Cole?
With a toothy grin, he goes, I would love to fight a floaty eye being. Sounds fun.
Well, there we are. Even if I were to cast the vote, I'd be outvoted anyway. So, looks like we're going to do this.
With that
Sorry,
in mind,
Jarek. Mm-hmm.
there's no way we're convincing anyone living in that Citadel that a goblin slaver managed to capture a dragon.
Agreed.
Yeah,
I think we might have to convince Kip to stay here to protect the gnomes.
I'll go talk to
Yeah.
Kip.
Please do.
Finn will approach Kip. Hey, Kip, buddy, pal.
Hey, pal.
Jarek is like about to go like, there is no convincing, like Finn like volunteers. He's like,
He- Kip will look and say, Finn, right?
Yes. So listen, we have a problem here. We really got to get in and pass off as slaves, but we don't want to leave the gnomes unattended. Like, we need someone really strong and really powerful to look after them. And we were wondering if perhaps you would volunteer? Finn bats her eyelashes.
Dude's a dragon. You're a different species, you perv.
No, it's just the old
I
school
know.
charm from like the cartoons where your eyelashes get really long. It's just that.
He'll look at Finn, and he'll kind of look indignant and say, I'm not a child. Does the entire group feel I shouldn't come with you?
Yeah. It kind of puts her hands on her hips. I'm sorry. It's not that. I mean, we would love to have you come with, but you
He
gotta
holds up
understand.
a hand and he says, I get it. Just don't forget your promise to me. And then he kind of just curls up in a ball.
Hey, Kip, come on, don't do that. Finn kind of like hunches over.
Kip,
Hey.
Kip, like flaps a wing at you.
Ah, Kip. hey, Kip.
And
You
he
have
stands
my
up and he
word.
kind
You
of
have my word. We will do everything we can to help you if you can just do this one thing for us.
He stands back up and he looks a little bit angry and he says, "Fine, I'll protect the gnomes." And then he kind of says it loud enough for all of you to hear, "You better come back."
Yeah.
And then he says a little quieter, "Just be careful." And then he curls back up in a ball.
Hey, Kip. You know what would make us really feel better? To see a smile.
Kip looks at you and then flashes all of his teeth.
Is that a smile, or are you threatening me?
Or is he gonna eat me?
No, with that, Kip smiles.
Finn will smile and walk back to the group. I took care of it.
Nice job.
You hear
Thank
that,
you.
Collimore? You better bring us all back safely.
Yeah. Listen, here's the deal. I'm gonna try to protect my ass. You all try to protect your own.
Can I
Oh,
change my
boy.
vote?
My plan.
No, we'll help each other. I mean, we.
Oh, yeah, I'll help. Yeah.
Do
All
we
right,
have
then
asses?
Before we arrange. Yes, we have asses, Cole.
Where are they?
I don't know if beholders have asses. I think we'll find out. But before we go, there's one last thing that we
Look.
should try to.
According to the physiology that I studied extensively during my time at the academy, beholders have no need for such devices.
Oh, I see.
We're still talking about asses. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so down.
Helmer will now change the subject.
Okay,
as
good.
How do they poop, rather than Jesus. What he was gonna say, which is, there's one last thing. We already know about arrogance, but bright light, from what Lady Celine told us, seems to be another weakness. Now, Jarek, have you had any luck being able to cast light at all? I mean, sorry, conjure up some light, I should say.
Don't ask him that. He's sensitive.
No, I have to ask him. I have to know.
Derek blinks and says, "No, but then again, even if I could, my light source is not a bright one. I imagine we're just going to have to improvise with whatever's at hand."
Perhaps, but maybe we should ask Fergal one last favor, now that we can say we've committed to helping the gnomes.
Well,
Keen's gonna
we-
slowly raise his hand.
Yeah? What's up, Keen? You don't need to raise your hand.
Poor Keen.
Trying to get
Just
some
like
word in edgewise.
Well, sorry,
He's-
it's just I can't hear you speak, so I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, I know. He's going to reach into his cloak and kind of pull out what seems to be a flask.
Uh-huh.
Now, this is some strong alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
We might be able to make a firebomb out of it. Maybe?
True, with fire comes light. It's
Yeah.
definitely a good idea to improvise, for sure. Waving
Yeah.
torches around it.
Jarek says, "Wouldn't it be a safe assumption that we won't have our equipment on hand? It's going to be taken from us when we're enslaved, right?"
Yeah,
True.
maybe we could hide something.
it's true. Let's talk with Fergal and see if they can, I mean, the gnomes are going to help us with an escape. Perhaps they'll have some sort of device or something to help us just cast a flash of light.
Maybe, but considering how they don't seem to have any need or use of it,
I know. It's unlikely, but, you know, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So if we're able to track down Fergal again, if that's possible, Mr.
Yes,
GM.
it's definitely possible. And he'll be
Okay.
like, "Oh, welcome back."
Well, now that we've all conferred, I can speak for the rest of the group, and we will enter the city and try our best to kill the source of the mother's detection.
Fantastic. Have you told Jagal this?
No, not yet. We wanted to talk with you first. We have uncovered one of the weaknesses of this creature that we believe is being used to find you out, and his weakness is bright light. Do you have anything or know of anything that can generate some bright light to daze or stun it?
Well, Of course. Many, many things in the Underdark are weak to bright light. We use them commonly all the time to run away from them. And he pulls out a handful of very small, maybe the size of, or less than the size of a marble. About little white stones. And he says, these little things right here, if you throw it and strike it against a hard surface, it will sit there and form an intense light.
Okay. All right. And also, I'm just going to say it. If we're concerned about being stripped of our gear,
I know where this is going.
we can
I know
smuggle
where
it.
this is going the moment
can
you joke
smuggle
about
it
it, and the
easily.
answer to the question is no.
Smuggle it easily. I'm just saying it's possible. I'm
I don't want
just
to go
saying.
that route.
You know what? I will
You know
do
what?
anything for
You know what?
victory. I will shove a marble up my ass to kill a beholder, okay?
I thought you were talking about smuggling them in your mouth. That was nice, but then who would talk?
Anyway.
Right neck the nose.
I was gonna say this anyway, but he does say that if you are going into the city and it is such a thing, as I heard you saying, they can survive. How do you say, being swallowed and used again?
Yes.
He
Okay.
says there was a time in my youth where it came quite in handy.
We could
There
do
you
without the story, thank you.
Fergal looks a little like he was gonna launch into it, and then he's like, oh, "Okay, very
So,
well."
how many of these marbles is he giving us? 5?
No, he gave you a handful, so I'd say,
Huh.
given their size, maybe 10.
Oh, so that's enough for 2 apiece.
Oh my god.
Oh,
So, do they stick and just kind of glow there?
He says yes. When it strikes a hard surface, it sticks wherever it hits, and it generates an intense light for about 10 minutes or so. Now the light is intense. He says, "Let me qualify. Intense for those of the Underdark. You who are used to being above the surface, it would be bright, but I don't think it would hinder you too much. Possibly if you look straight at it, it might. But honestly, I think given that you were from the surface, it would give you a huge edge in battle."
How hard, is this made, or is this found, or
He thumps his chest. He's like, "This was invented by my family generations ago. Only
Wow,
a few
that-
of us know how to make them."
this could be incredibly useful later on? Like immensely useful.
He
Yeah, I was
says,
thinking-
"I can always make more. It takes time, of course, but..."
Yeah, of course. Well, that's cool.
That's nifty.
Is there anything else
Yeah.
I can do for you guys to help you?
you're talking to Fergal?
Yeah, Fergal's saying
Yeah.
that to you guys.
Finn will glance at Jarek. Still staring at Jarek.
Yep.
Fergal starts
He
to
joins
stare at
in.
Jarek curiously.
Cole starts to still.
Jarek glowers at Fergal.
Fergal, I don't think he understands glowering. He just kind of looks at you curiously.
Okay, that's cool. Jarek has plenty of patience.
Yeah, way more than Fergal. So after a time,
you know
Fergal...
what? I'm playing the steering game with Jarek for a long time here now, so I know when he's not going to say a damn
Yeah, so
thing.
after a
Jarek
while,
talks with his eyes.
after a while, Fergal just shrugs and goes back to what he's doing. He says, "Let me know if there's anything else I can do for you."
Most certainly.
Oh, Colomor,
Yes, Keen?
were you able to get your hand on some of that poison?
Very much so, yes.
What did you do with it?
Oh, it's in my pack. Would you like some?
I was thinking about it.
All right.
If I could conceal it somewhere and I were able to get my hands on a bow, could be really useful.
All right. Well, here, I have an extra flask here. I'll pour half of it for you, half of it for me, and then maybe if we're lucky, both or at least one of us will get it passed. I'm hoping when we actually talk with this goblin that he can actually arrange for us to fight this thing with our weapons and our gear. It might be
Hopefully.
possible.
Out of curiosity, as a GM moment, Keen, you don't have, as far as I understand, your background doesn't actually have much to do with poison, right?
No, absolutely not.
So I am going to, if you try to like code an arrow with this, I'm going to let you do it, but there's going to be some severe penalties because you've never really worked with this kind of thing before.
I was just gonna dip the arrow into the vial.
No, I understand, but basically the thing is that I'll let you do it, like I said, but there's going to be a chance that, say, you can cut yourself or that it won't work properly.
That's right. You don't have the poison use class feature, Keen. You don't understand.
No, I'm not. See, I'm not going to be that.
No,
that,
that's
that
true.
I'm not going to be that bad about it. What I'm saying is,
No,
that
I
since-
actually think you should be that bad about it.
what I'm saying,
Okay.
what I'm saying is that since your character has never really worked with poisons before, you are more than welcome to dip it in the flask, but you're not going to have. There's going to be chances it doesn't work. You cut yourself, and I should also point out that you're not immune to it like Pearson is. So these
Yeah.
are things that you should be aware of.
Pearson's
I-
immune to poison. Holy
No,
shit.
no,
No,
just
I
that
have
one.
a specific antidote for
Yeah.
this particular
Okay.
poison.
Which
Okay.
That
I
is not
actually
character
I
knowledge,
did
though.
not I did not actually ask, but I assume you drank it. Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
of course.
Yeah. That is not character knowledge, though.
No, right. What
I'm
I'm
saying as a GM to a player.
Oh, I
Yeah,
know.
okay.
I completely understand. My character would not know this, so
Right.
that's why I'm getting it.
but okay. So your character would know that it's going to be incredibly difficult for him to use such a thing with his arrows.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Just so you're aware.
The risk of taking down a beholder is worth it.
As for the marbles, Jarek will actually pull out a small sack. Hand them to me. I will carry them.
Okay. Sure.
Elmore says,
This is not really something that you're doing on account of the fact that you're not holding the marbles, Keen. Jarek extends a gloved hand.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Fergal will say, "Oh, of course," and he'll hand them to Jarek.
Fantastic. This may be unsettling. Jarek will actually begin to unwrap his right arm. I'm actually going through the motion of unwrapping my right arm in real life. Great.
Elmore
can
watches
feel
with
it.
curiosity.
And it will expose eventually the completely pale right arm devoid of flesh and muscle. Jarek will take the marbles, put them in the bag, and jam the bag between his radius and ulna.
Mm. Wow.
Wow. Okay. Fergal
Yeah.
looks on with extreme curiosity.
Yeah.
Cool.
Jarek-
Same.
Twists his head slowly to Fergal and lifts up the skeletal arm and begins to clench the fist of it at Fergal.
Fergal, just out of sheer curiosity, looks at it, looks at his own hand, clenches it a few times, looks back to Jarek's and says, "Wow." Then he goes back to whatever he's doing.
Elmore says, I have to admit, that's a lot better than jamming them up your ass.
Yeah.
Thank God for that.
Eh. Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do
that.
sometimes. But,
Not do any sudden movements, they might go off.
now, the last thing we need to worry about before we venture out is getting this enchantment so we can escape through the stone, correct?
Yes.
And with that, you hear behind you the voice of Jigal saying, "Yes, it is being prepared as we speak. Who shall we place the enchantment upon?"
Cole.
Yeah, that
Hey,
sounds.
Considering Cole is the only one who's ever been down here before, I would have to agree.
Yeah.
And Cole is not going to argue at all. He's all for this.
Then he'll say, "Cole, if you would please," and we'll motion towards the camp center.
All right. He will go towards it until directed otherwise.
And around the camp center are several gnomes that are kneeling down and they are chanting incantations. And the elder of the tribe you're in now and Jigal come up behind you, and Jigal says, "Please sit."
And we'll do so.
And they place their hands upon you, and for several minutes nothing seems to happen, and then very slowly you get this odd sensation that, and you've never really felt this before, but that if you wanted to, you could open up the stone beneath your feet. The same way that if you wanted to, you could stretch out your hand and grab something. You are as sure as of your ability to reach out and touch something as you are that for whatever reason you could open up the ground beneath your feet and walk through it. It feels as if you've always had this ability. It's as natural to you as breathing. And after a certain amount of time, Jigal and the other elder removes his hands, and Jigal comes around to your front and says, "It is done. The enchantment will last for however long you are under this earth. You can only use it once. If we have done our job, you will know exactly how to use it. It will feel as though you've always known."
One time. All right.
He nods. He says, "I suggest that you be on the floor or the stone when you use it. If you are, for example, in an upper level of a building and you use it to open up the floor or the wall, you will travel through the floor or wall, but that is all. You must be touching the surface of the bedrock." And he kind of stamps the ground underneath his feet. Or be near a rock wall and slaps the wall.
All right. Now, how large is the radius of this?
He
Excuse me.
nods and asks the other village elder to stand, and they stand about 15 feet apart from each other. And he says, "About this big. Make sure the rest of your party is within this area when you cast your enchantment."
And he will nod and...
And Jigal says, "Understand that this enchantment cannot be stripped from you, nor can it be detected, hopefully even by him," he says, hesitating. "It should be something you can do in any situation."
I'll keep that in mind. And we'll slowly rise up, try to make sure that his first step doesn't go through the floor, and we'll keep doing that until he feels comfortable to walk at a normal pace.
Mm-hmm. It takes a few minutes, but you get the hang of it. And you can feel... how to put this? You can feel the earth underneath you and the walls near you, in the sense of... if you go near a tent, or if you go near a stalagmite, you don't feel the same thing. In other words, it's a way you can kind of tell when you're near the bedrock. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, in other words, here's the best way to say it. You feel like if you were in a room that was not touching the ground, you would be able to tell. So that you know that you won't waste your enchantment. You know, like... for example, the ground underneath you is the bedrock or it's not. You have this sense.
So I would know if I'm on a floor that if I do step through it, there would be bedrock.
You
there
feel
or
confident that you would be able to tell, yes.
Okay, cool. Very nice.
All right, and then with that, Jigal and all of the gnomes gather around you and say, "You are doing us a service that is uncomprehensible and immeasurable, and no way can we repay you. We thank you."
Don't thank me yet. It is yet to be done. And we'll kind of wobble and then step a few more times to get normal pace.
They nod, and then Jigal turns to the whole party and says, "Again, we will wait here, or at the place that," and he points to Cole, "asked us to for 1 week. If it's longer than that, the enchantment will be the only way you can find us."
Okay.
And they wish you luck.
Wonderful.
By the
Let's
way-
navigate the fucking Underdark.
I should point out that you all have had a full rest up at this point.
Yay.
Oh, goody.
Yay, Rusty.
Yay, rest day.
All right.
Oh, if only I could edit my token.
Yeah. Oh well, I'll edit it. I'll edit it when I'm dead.
I
Go
will.
to your
I will
journal.
send you
When
guys.
it's not consumed by the tentacle monster.
Wait.
Yeah, I know.
guys. Go to your journal.
No.
Under there will be characters,
Wow.
Yeah.
and then you can edit your attributes.
Ow.
My journal, where's that?
Oh yeah. Shit.
Next to the
Man,
chat
it'll
window.
show up on the actual
Yeah.
tokens. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
there's like a little newspaper.
Yeah, I don't see my character there.
Oh,
Oh.
wow, that sucks.
Wow.
Sucks
Well,
to
that
be
fucking
you.
sucks.
There's your character.
Yeah, I just derailed you, you fucking cunt.
Oh,
back to
whoa.
back.
Oh, wow. No need
Okay,
for that
Whoa.
big C.
Yeah.
That is the
We're
third
gonna
time
put
you're-
Jarek over here with the
Listen.
tentacle monster.
That's
Yeah,
my
there we go.
word. You only I can say that word.
sorry, I was channeling Inferno. Yeah. I should have
Jameson,
used the
not
other
Inferno.
C word. Canada.
Tullamore. Don't. No, not me. That's not me. I don't throw that around willy nilly. It's
Times
just
are
my
you guys
character.
gonna drop the big C in this fucking
The big C.
the big C?
Now I just imagine like a
Creon
giant
sucks.
vagina attacking
Like,
the city.
now
Quick, someone shoot that C word with a bazooka. All right. Anyway.
Thought I could bring some levity to this situation. Thanks for pointing out the
Oh
non-existent.
my God! I'm fucking glorious.
am Pearson.
Does he make it the
You
other
what?
giant scene?
My word.
All
right,
Anyway.
quite quickly.
There you go. You can edit your tokens if you need to. I don't know
Alright,
why
then.
you don't have a journal. I'll try and fix that in the future.
I have a journal.
You know, I don't.
Diary.
Okay.
Alrighty. So is there anything else you guys want to do before you set out to the area where Balin told you to go?
I'm good.
As so no one's coming with us for guidance to go to this particular person.
No, Jigal told you exactly how to get there. But none of the gnomes are basically, if you were to ask, they would say, "We're not warriors." That was
They're
not brave enough."
cowards.
Yeah.
Now, when we learned that they're all shape-shifting demons, or that they've sold us out, or that it was all a ruse created by the mother to plant all these swaddled-up gnomes and webbing so that we would conveniently rescue them, so that we'd go to the Citadel to be heroes, then we'll talk.
Can I adjust my notes then?
Let me pencil that idea.
It was all a ruse, a really elaborate, really construed.
It's like one of the gnomes leaves like a little box for the Lich King, and so I conveniently played them like the fit sailor.
All right. So you guys head out, and you of course you are assured that your enchantment, your eyes, will last 72 hours. He does. What's his name? Fergal. Fergal tells you guys that if for whatever reason you need to stop the enchantment on your eyes, i.e., you use one of the stones, because under that enchantment, the stone would most certainly hinder your vision. That all you really need to do is close your eyes as hard as you can and slap yourself in the face. And he says, I know
Ow.
it sounds very odd, but when this enchantment was created, it was designed to be easily dispelled. But
I fucking hate gnomes.
You know,
I hate the gnomes and I hate
Inferno.
their stupid magic.
I am right with you. Like,
Yes.
if I am not driving the train like you are, I am like shoveling coal into the furnace on that train.
you know, the best part is me and Variax too.
Then why are you doing this? Why did you make gnomes?
What?
You should've just
Misery
killed
loves
them all.
company. What do you want from me?
Oh, I hate them. All right. Anyway.
Yeah, but he assures you it's not like any good knock will dispel it. It has to be you doing it to yourself. The magic will know. However, once you dispel it, you won't be able to redo it.
Next session, we meet Tiddly Thunderbottom.
The strongest and most powerful of them.
I just made that name up, and it sounds like a gnome name.
Yeah.
It really does. All right.
Jagal.
So you guys you head out and Cole, you're able to very easily follow the directions that were given you. It takes about a good 8 to 10 hours because you were not really near the Citadel. So you travel and hang on, let me make a nice little roll.
And you're all dead.
No. You
Like
guys
that.
travel uneventfully. Again, it's very quiet. It's very kind of peaceful in an eerie sort of way. And you travel to the site that you were told about, and once you get there, you see kind of a hearth, a circle of stones with what looks to be dead and dried mushrooms in the center. That looks to be the fire that you were told to light to attract the goblin. So you know that you are where you were told to be.
So,
All right. Shall are we ready? Might as well light this fire, eh?
Yeah.
All right,
I-
Jarek will turn away from the place where the fire will be lit.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know.
good call. Cullimore says I can light it here. And he'll take out his little flint and tinder and
Ben's stupid. He's just, or she's just looking.
Okay.
Cole will
Uh,
rise up a preemptive hand. There you go. Preemptive.
I'll turn Finn around.
Ah,
Nice.
wait.
Oh, that's right. Thank you, Keen.
Alright.
It takes you a couple seconds, but the mushrooms catch on fire very quickly, and strangely to your eyes, the fire, even though everything's red tinted, the fire seems to be greenish, and does not actually hurt your vision. Yes,
All right.
you're not sure
Okay.
what color it is normally, but it looks greenish to you.
Cullimore will say, we're assuming that the goblin will come and he will be friendly and he'll be alone. But let's not make that assumption. Perhaps we should hide and see who decides to come.
Maybe.
Okay.
All right. Are there stalagmites or other such underdark rocky outcroppings which we could hide ourselves?
Yes, there are several stalactites that you could, and there's a lip of rock that's about waist high, so you guys can find hiding places for yourselves.
Okay.
Hmm.
Cullimore's going to hide.
Good thing I brought the all black wardrobe for the occasion. I'm prepared for stealth missions.
So
You know what?
mhm.
I think I'm gonna sit in front of the fire while the rest of you hide.
Oh, well, Keen, why?
Because if he just
Cullimore's
sees the
asking
fire,
you what. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, if he sees the fire with nobody there, he might not even bother. He would think it's strange and then just turn back. I can at least make it look like I'm warming myself by the fire,
Perhaps.
and if things happen, then you
Like
guys
he-
will be right there.
Let King do it, Gulliver.
Okay, very well. If you wish, I don't see necessarily a problem with it. I just assumed he'd come to the fire anyway. Because didn't that little gnome say that this fire was used so he would know to free more slaves or some such?
Maybe. Out of character, I wasn't there for that conversation. So
It was told that the fire was used to attract him, not necessarily for what, but so that the gnomes could get in contact with him.
Oh, okay.
And you were also told this is where he brings freed slaves when he can.
That was my confusion. Okay, Cullimore's fine with the idea. If you're all right being bait, I can
yeah,
hide.
that's fine. I'll do it.
All right.
All right. You sit down by the fire, and an hour passes. Nothing happens. A second hour passes. A third, and a fourth hour passes. And after 4 hours, you hear some foots scraping across the rock.
Okay.
Foots,
I'm gonna,
eh?
Some foots.
I'm
Not
gonna
even
turn
feet,
to look.
but some foots. All right,
Oh my
and
God.
you see very slowly a goblin who's rather large for his goblin size. Not a hobgoblin. I trust most of you in the party would know the differences between hobgoblins and goblins, but where some of the players may not. So, a goblin is, think like a very small orc. They're not muscly like orcs. They're nowhere near as tall as orcs, but they have the same green skin. Their eyes are bigger because they are often subterranean creatures. Hobgoblins are like taller, bigger versions of goblins, but their skin is beige or yellow.
Mhm.
And bugbears are like giant hobgoblins. Bugbears are about as big as Cole is, maybe a little bigger, and they look like hobgoblins with lots of hair. So furry
Gotcha.
chests and beards and all that. And you were told that is mainly what inhabits we'll call it the Citadel, the city without a name.
Okay. Considering I doubt there are many goblins or hobgoblins or bugbears in Whitebridge, Pearson's just gonna be racist as fuck.
Yeah.
I will say that you will know of them, and you will probably have seen them
Yeah.
before, because goblins are a constant menace to travelers, even in
Ah.
the Freelands. So,
Okay.
so the goblin, who is rather large for his size, he's about 4 feet 5, 4 feet 6. And he carries a spear and some really shoddy armor and a helm with one little spike on the top. And he approaches the fire cautiously. And when he sees that you are not a gnome, he stops and he crouches and he says, "You are no gnome?
No.
Why do you contact Guy?"
Refresh my memory. What was the name of the gnome that was crazy?
Balin.
Okay. Balin sent us.
He shakes his head. "I know not name Balin."
The gnome that you rescued.
He spreads his arms wide and says, "I know not what you're talking about, but if some goblin were to be rescuing gnomes, he would have done many." Guy looks uneasy, and he looks like he's about to start backing up.
Come. Sit by the fire. I mean you no harm. I just want to talk.
"Many things in the Underdark say they mean no harm. Most of them lie to Guy.
I'm
How
not
did
lying.
you come by this fire?"
The gnome that you saved wanted us to go to the city and free more gnomes.
With that, he tilts his head and say, "Us?"
Fuck.
No, I'm not gonna say anything, but yep.
There are a few more of me,
More of...
of my friends.
He looks confused for a second, and then, oh.
Yes.
He starts looking around. "Why would one," and he looks at you and says, "human, want to enter the city?"
What was the name of the beholder?
The name from the book was Shalta.
Okay. Do you know of a floating demon thing
With that, he hisses.
named Yeah.
No, you can finish, yeah.
named Shalta?
He, when you say floating demon thing, he hisses, and when you say Shalta, he stops and he says, "Everyone knows of the Lord."
I want to kill him,
With
and I'm
that-
going to stare at him when I say this.
With that, his eyes widen and says, "Why?"
He is making it impossible for the gnomes to survive down here.
The goblin then sits down and crosses his legs, and leaning his spear against one of his shoulders, he kind of puts, how to describe this, puts his elbow in one hand and his chin in that upraised hand, and thinks to himself, like he's got his chin on his fist and he's thinking to himself, And he's sitting there muttering, "Wants to kill the eyed monster."
Yes.
And then he looks at you and says, "Are you strong?"
Oh, yes. Me and my companions are. Would you like to meet them?
With that, he stands back up and grabs his spear and says, "If you trick Guy." And then
This is no trick. We would love to kill Shalta.
And he looks and he says, "Then we are." And he seems unfamiliar with the word. "Friends?"
Yes, for the time being.
"Then show me your friends."
Guys, come on.
Okay. With that, Cullimore will step around from the stalagmite that he was hiding behind.
Then we'll do the same.
Jarek ain't fucking moving. He doesn't have to. He doesn't breathe.
Of course. I wouldn't expect him to.
All right. Cullimore says, "Don't be afraid of us. If we wanted to kill you, we would have already. We're more interested in killing this
With
Shalta."
With that, Guy sits back down in his position with the fist on his chin, and he starts thinking to himself. And after a very long moment, he looks up and says, "Yes, I think you would have."
Indeed. In fact, in order for us to do this, we absolutely need your help. And in fact, we need to put our trust into your hands. After all this, you could be the big hero.
Guy looks at you confused.
We heard from your gnome friend. You herd slaves?
"Yes, I am one of the guards who hunts and brings in new slaves."
Mm-hmm. And some of those new slaves go into the arena, yes?
"The more powerful ones, yes."
And sometimes the powerful of the powerful, the demon beholder, Shalta, wants to fight himself, correct?
He nods vigorously. "There are some who interest him, and he challenges them to combat, but none have succeeded."
We have spoken, and we have determined that with your help, we would like to be captured as your slaves. We would like to prove ourselves to fight in the arena, and we would like to go toe-to-toe with this demon, and we will kill him. But we need your help.
Guy looks at you thoughtfully and then says, "What you ask is dangerous."
Oh, we know.
He shakes his head. "For me, Guy,
Oh. How so?
He spreads his hands. "The Lord and he hesitates. "Shalta is not a forgiving one. If he suspects foul play," he spreads his hands, "it is possible, but one goblin guard would not overpower so many slaves. I would need to think of a way." And he starts putting his chin back in his fist.
Ooh,
How
that's
about you
good.
take us one at a time?
I got this.
Oh, go ahead.
Jarek, sneering, will stand and rise and begin to walk.
Then you caught us asleep and bound us while we were all helpless, shackled to carry back to the Citadel for dark amusement.
With that, when you say that, Guy, who was not looking at any of you, kind of nods along and says, "Yes, that might," and then stops, and then looks up at Jarek, and then just like what, like kind of like falls down as he realized who said it, and he tries to gather his composure and says, and looks to Keen, "Another friend."
Yes, he's a bit melodramatic.
Guy sits back down nervously and says, "What you say is possible.
Before we go along with you, we have some more questions, since you're the only person that we know of that actually lives in this city.
He nods. Ask your questions.
The one that I'm most worried about is when slaves are to fight in the arena, are they given weapons?
He nods. He says,
Who?
he says there are a variety of weapons for them to choose from. Once in a while, if a strong fighter arises, they will let him choose his weapons.
I see. And are you in control of the weapons, or do you know of anyone who is in control of the weapons that are made available to the slaves?
Guy nods. Guy knows the guardians of the slave pits for the Colosseum, yes.
Good. Because for us to be truly strong, for us to truly kill this monster, we will need access to the weapons that will undoubtedly be confiscated from us when you capture us. You understand?
Guy nods and says it will be expensive, but I can make sure the proper guards are motivated to do so.
What kind of money do you use down here?
He waves his hand and says, that is not your concern. Your concern is this. If Guy does this, he poses great risk to himself, and when it is found that you are here to kill the master, Guy will have fingers pointed at him.
I see. So even if we succeed and we kill him, people might suspect it because you're the one who brought us to the arena, correct?
He nods his head. Guy is as much slave as the others, only given spear.
All right. Then how about this? It's just a thought. Maybe Guy is our friend, but he's a quiet friend on the inside. Maybe Guy tells one of his other friends where 5 outsiders lay sleeping by a fire pit. Maybe they capture us, and when we kill it, they are the ones to blame. Not Guy.
He shakes his head and he says, no. If Guy does this for you, when you leave, you take Guy with you, and speak well of him to gnomes so that Guy may live with them. Guy must run, must find new life.
That could be done. I don't
Yeah.
have a problem with that. Do you? Anyone else? Yeah, and Pearson looks at the party.
I don't have a
It's
problem
Concerned
with
about
that.
his position when
yeah.
we try to leave.
It's blatantly obvious this goblin wants to leave the Citadel, so we'll just let his fears work on him. I don't need to convince him.
Mm-hmm. What was that, though, Cole?
We need him to be positioned so he leaves with us.
That's right. Unless, Guy, would you make arrangements for you to flee the Citadel and meet us after we make our escape, or did you want to directly escape with us?
Guy shakes his head and says, Guy know not where the master is, and would never be allowed to be around you after. Guy can find his own way out of the city and meet you.
We will resolve this situation. This location is a fallback plan to meet
Agreed,
up upon escaping the Citadel in case of separation.
Yeah. Since we all know where this is our best bet, and it's relatively secret. That's why you use it for your place, right, Guy?
Guy nods. Guy says Guy could run at any time, but no gnome trusts goblins, and he points to himself. But perhaps with good word from strong warriors.
Oh, we can be very convincing.
Guy nods his head. Then I will take you to the city. I will aid you however I can.
All right. Any other questions for Guy?
No?
Okay. All right, I've asked all the questions I need to know.
I'm good.
I have questions. I need to know the lay of the land. Do you have a, I need to know the positionings of how many floors and where the arena is. He'll spattle off at like a whole bunch of different places that he thinks that it is important to know of.
Guy looks at Cole and says, I know some of these things, but as a guard, I am kept in the jails and the outer sides of the keep. I can show you what I can. And he starts drawing in the sand. And what he draws, and remarkably well for a goblin with a stick drawing on dirt.
That's racist. You know, goblin lawyers have been drawing in the dirt with skits for ages, but it was skits. Anyways, I'm gonna just shut
GMs
the
aren't
fuck up.
racist. They just spout facts.
All right. Anyways,
What you see is this. We won't have to use this now because you're, at least at the moment, you're not attempting a full frontal assault. He kind of draws that this is the outside of the city. The outer wall here, there is one door at the very front, right there. A very large door that the slaves are brought in through. Everyone's brought in through. It's a very tall wall, almost impenetrable. On the inside are tents and campfires where many of the goblins and hobgoblins and bugbears reside. The jails are down below. And he knows those well. I did not actually create the jails themselves, but this entrance right here, if you see where I'm clicking, is the entrance to the jails. This the inner sanctum here is the inner sanctum of the citadel, and he knows very little beyond the jails and the hallways that lead to the Colosseum itself. The Colosseum is housed within the inner sanctum, but most of the inner sanctum is off limits to one such as him. He knows the pathways to the Colosseum because many goblins and hobgoblins spend their free time and money betting on fighters, and he knows the jails because he brings slaves there and works there all the time.
All right. So, like behind the Colosseum, there's just more town, or is there?
He says that there is many rooms and hallways and things, but he has never seen them himself.
All right. So I'm assuming the white space behind the Colosseum is not a just flat wall.
This is actually the back area here is a stone wall, and he says that the citadel extends into that wall. Everything beyond this point is inside, quote unquote. So the Colosseum itself is housed in here. All the levels to the deeper parts of the citadel are through here.
What floor is this on?
It was what on?
The Colosseum.
The Colosseum, he says, is deep underground, at the bottom.
All right.
Underground, because all of this isn't.
It's underground. Wow.
It is beyond these doors, deep down at the very heart.
Okay. And I'm assuming the prisons are even lower than that.
The prisons are actually above it.
That's annoying.
I can say this from what he's telling you. It does look like that if you're going to try and travel downwards, you would need to be on the level of the arena itself. Doesn't necessarily mean you can't. There's not other routes you could take, but yes, where the jails are, you would you're not touching the bedrock. There's stuff below you.
All right.
Right. So that is that. Any other questions?
I'm good. I'm ready to get my slave on.
Yeah, I'm good.
Alrighty then. He will go to you guys and he will say, Apologies, but I will need your weapons. If there are certain weapons that you want to use, and they are small, I will keep them on me personally. I am not searched. Or Guy is not searched. Forgetting my
Okay.
mannerisms here.
Culmore will then take one strip of glass-covered leather and the small vial of poison, and he'll say, "Are these small enough for you to hide on your person?"
He nods and slips them into a pack. Any
Okay.
others?